I want to get to our chief international correspondent. That's Keir Simmons. Keir, you, like all of us, have been watching these dramatic developments punctuating a pressure campaign, a series of threats and warnings and accusations from the White House, where the White House was, in effect, trying to get Maduro to cry uncle, and it appears he wouldn't do that. And ultimately, at the president's orders, the U.S. went in and picked him up. Your reactions and your thoughts as we witness this history.
Well, I think it's stunning, and I think it's also, in many senses, not surprising, given the past year. Of course, we just ticked over that first year in the second administration of President Trump. And we have known from the Trump administration through that first year that the focus has been on the Western Hemisphere, that there's been a determination to look at Latin America and, if you like, what you might describe as America's kind of near abroad. That's the way, for example, the Russians describe countries like Ukraine and Eastern Europe. That's the way that China describes places that are close to its borders. There has been that determination, and there has been that military build-up, and yet at the same time, Peter, to wake up and for many people and to see that this is happening in this way will be shocking. I think one of the questions that we're going to be asking in the coming days through the weekend is what will be the reaction of some of Venezuela's partners, global partners, and that includes Russia, for example. I mean, just in the past days, in the past weeks, we saw a ship heading from Venezuela. We saw the Russians, we saw Moscow ask the Trump administration not to target it. The U.S. was pursuing it. The U.S. Coast Guard was pursuing it. The Russians intervened there. How will President Putin react now to this? It's likely that he will be very critical of it. And what impact will that have then on his own decisions? And the same with President Xi in Beijing, China's leader. How will China respond? It's very likely that the Russians, for example, will be powerless in the immediate term. If you think back, for example, to the fall of President Assad in Syria, which was supported by President Putin and by Moscow, effectively Russia did very little except for offer effectively asylum to the leader of Syria at that time when there was when that uprising in Syria overwhelmed him. So that I think is an important question. Richard asked another important question: what happens inside Venezuela now? Is there who comes to power? What you are seeing in U.S. foreign policy, and we've seen it now on a number of occasions. Just take, for example, President Trump weighing in militarily with Iran last year. What you're seeing is the Trump administration use U.S. power, but from a distance, a long arm of U.S. force, not put boots on the ground. And of course, that's not surprising because the American people are not in favor of U.S. boots on the ground. So once again, we will be asking the question, and Richard described it very well. Once again, we'll be asking the question: what is possible with air power and with naval power, but without the boots on the ground, without the army, without actually taking power? And what is the plan in Venezuela? That is, I think, something that we'll need an answer to that. We'll need an answer to that in terms of what the Trump administration's thinking is in the coming days.
Keir Simmons is our chief international correspondent. He's joining us on the air right now again as we get a better understanding of the situation on the ground in Caracas, Venezuela, in that country after the president announced the